who you allow around you, in your mind, in your thoughts, in your heart, wherever. That person's influence on you and the effect can have positive results as well as negative results.
How do we go to the calling aspect of why we are here, and how do we identify that?
For some people, identifying happens very fast, and for some people, it takes time.
Phrase that you hear from a lot of people coming in. No, I could be doing something different. This is not what I'm here for.
But that itself is a spiritual calling.
Yeah.
Because when somebody says, this is not what I'm here for, means
So we always, so we see that in today's world, people are looking for respite. Everybody is going through some tense moments. Nobody's. I'm very positive that every one of us, the most successful, the people who are struggling, people who are fighting their way out, everybody is looking for that magical pill, which they feel they can swallow and get the respite out of the struggle, the daily mundanes of their lives. Probably that is why people are also looking at going to astrologers. Of course, that's the age-old therapy that anybody would go for. They'll want to check their Akashic records. A lot of healers have come up. They are doing Reiki for you. They are doing pranic healing for you. They are doing some past life regressions. And of course, there is this whole tantra. What really brings respite to people? What should people really look at when they say that we are going through struggling times and we want to get on our top game? We want to be there where we feel that we are comfortable.
The gap is huge. When you talk about people are looking for respite, and when you're talking about success, the gap is huge, because there are probably many steps and layers in between that one has to follow through. When we talk about any of these, like tarot is huge actually. Well, tarot is just about 600 years old, not very old. Then we talk about Akashic records, or there's something called 5D, which is very new. Then there's Reiki. Reiki I've heard for a very long time. I have a lot of clients who are Reiki grandmasters who cannot handle their own energy and protect themselves. What happens is they're dealing with others' energies and heavy energies, and they absorb it because they're cleansing somebody's energy. And we as human body, we are like sponge. We absorb a lot of other people's energy. Whenever you allow somebody to get into your field, when I mean your field means close proximity, who you allow around you, in your mind, in your thoughts, in your heart, wherever, that person's influence on you and the effect can have positive results as well as negative results. So, for example, if there's a Reiki master or a Reiki grandmaster or whoever it is, they are actually doing certain kind of practice where, of course, you need to, I'm sure you know that you need to ask that person for the healing. Firstly, that is age old everywhere. You need to ask before, if without asking, you cannot get, even no one can heal you even without that. So once they start healing, they are actually taking away a lot of that person's energy and absorbing it themselves. So they absorb a lot of energies. And it becomes very difficult for them to release that. So the aches and pains are generally there, a lot of it, and they are storing that. And very few people are there, apart from a few in the south. When we talk about Ayurveda, there's something called Abhyanga that is done, which is like oil bath. Okay, oil massage in the morning, so it's called an oil bath, Abhyanga. So that is a must. One should do that with different kinds of oil. Ayurvedic oils are there. You check out what kind of body you have. So there are ways of checking out, and then you can massage yourself every morning before bath. and you can actually protect yourself like that. The other kinds of aches and pains that you or I have, that can be reduced.
So this is something that I'd like to know, Meenakshi, is that that's personally I'd like to know, from what you said about people's calling, the reason why you are brought into this world. Many people would be interested to know exactly, and you hear a lot of things where people say, I am not sure what I'm here for, or I'm here for something else, I'm not sure right now what it is. How do we get to the point where we know, yes, this is what my calling is, this is what I've been brought into this world to do? Maybe I'm not doing that right now, or I'll mix it up again with another question before I keep quiet and let you answer, is that then there is this destiny. Then we accept the fact that whatever is happening as per destiny. But still, my calling is not this. There is a different calling. How do we kind of combine all this and understand exactly what is the reason why I'm here? What brings me to this world, and what is my real true calling?
So you can only understand whether you're doing and following your what you're brought in for, depending on where your success is. If you're not successful, and if you're not completely successful in whatever you're doing right now, and maybe you're doing everything, say you're waking up in the morning, you're working out, you're going for your work and coming back, and and then you feel that void somewhere. You're doing everything, you have a family, you have children, you have parents you're looking after, everything is in place, not that you're unhappy also. So everything is there, you're doing a good job, getting a good salary, but still somewhere deep inside you feel that this is not it. I'm not completely satisfied, or I'm not feeling right about it. That is when you know that you're
There's a different calling.
That's not what you're here for.
How do we reach out to what we are here for? How do we identify that one thing that says that, yes, this is what my calling is? And again, success, I feel, is very relative. It's
no, success has nothing to do with money.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. It's very relative. For certain people, a happy family life and a healthy life could be a more successful way of living. And
I think success,
for somebody, it could be, I'd be wanting $10 billion in my bank account today. Maybe that's success parameter for me. Again, it's very relative. But how do we go to the calling aspect of why we are here, and how do we identify that?
For some people, identifying happens very fast, and for some people it takes time. And I think you get flashes. Sometimes it happens to us that we get certain. It can happen through dreams, it can happen through people we meet, it can happen through sudden interest into something that keeps growing. How do we get spiritual? How do we start reading about Tantra, or how do we start reading about occult? I mean, why did I do so much of study from a very young age? I started reading Osho when I was 12 or 13, when probably girls my age
and
were
what a
reading
scandalous
Wilson
time
books.
that would have been for you, no? Considering Osho and
so my father was very fond of Osho, and there were a lot of books of Osho at home.
Okay.
And there were a lot of books of Tantra also at home. So we had all kinds of books which were to do with the darker side of spiritual life. The left hand path, I would look at it as a left hand path thing, because this is not something which is ordinary, not that everybody follows. Left hand path is slightly different. So the left means that you're not doing the ordinary thing that everybody does. So what we call about the right hand path and left hand path, a lot of people talk about it, but they don't explain. Normally everybody is writing with the right hand. I mean, a simple way of explaining. Very few people do things with the left hand, and when somebody does something with the left hand, their mothers stop. You're not supposed to do it like that.
Correct.
Okay, so that is why I think that left hand and right hand path how that came into being. And whenever you see your likes and dislikes are not like everybody else, or your mind is questioning things, I think that is, and you're looking for answers to those questions, that is when you know you're in a different calling altogether. And I think it happens automatically. If you're talking about spiritual calling, if you're talking about, were you asking about that?
I mean, I'm calling, yeah, of course, spiritual calling, yes, one. And then calling in general, when we say that, I don't think this is what I'm here for. It's a standard phrase that you hear from a lot of people coming in. I could be doing something different. This is not what I'm here for.
But that itself is a spiritual calling.
Yeah.
Because when somebody says this is not what I am here for, means that person is doing something very small compared to maybe something materially very small compared to what that person could do. So the question is again that gap. The gap is far, So that that unhappiness or that that void that you feel inside can only be fulfilled by that spiritual gap, that entity or the energies that we are talking about. Like when I used to feel like that, I didn't know, exactly like you said, that you don't get to understand. But then things happened in such a way that I was, pulled towards Kali. I was never like, I have to do her worship or I have to go to the temple. I was not like that. It just happened. It happened through a very simple thing, like I had to go and buy nimbu and chilies for home on a certain day. It all happened through that. And then I was pulled into a temple. All I was looking for was lemon and chilies. Nothing else. I was not looking at Kali at all. So that went, right? So that means you're always brought to a position where you have to understand what's happening. The day I was pulled into a temple like that, when I had gone to buy something else, and it was a very special day of Kali Puja, when I was just dragged inside the Kali temple of Kolkata, Kali Ghat, that had a huge queue on a Kali,
You can imagine,
on a
yes.
Kali Puja, going to the Kali Ghat Kali temple. The queue is for about at least good 1 kilometer, if not more. There's so much of queue, and I didn't even have to stand in the queue. Somebody just pulled me and took me inside. Just saying that you just come.
Correct.
Doesn't happen. So I could have struggled there. I could have told him, no, I don't want to go inside. It was absolutely like for some time, it was blank. And I reached right in front of her. Nothing happened. I mean, I used to go there as a child with family, but I've never been there on my own, alone. And I had gone there with one of our office workers who was a Muslim, and he was waiting outside for me. He didn't go inside. So I was the one who was pulled inside. So why did all this happen? Who took me inside? And why did he take me inside? There were so many people standing in the queue.
Correct.
So how do I explain this? This cannot be explained.
This cannot be explained.
So I think this is how, and it didn't stick to Kali only, right? Then series of entities came after that. So how would I explain that? Why did I study? Krishna came in much later. So I always had this problem with my dad when he said that there is Narayan at home, you should be looking at him, not looking at, Kali. We have Narayan at home, you don't have to go to a temple at all. So you do your prayers at home.
Interestingly, this is what happened. So I have always been drawn to Kali myself. We've shared, ever since I was a child, I used to dream of Kali, in ways where, you'd probably not even talk about in front of people, saying that, I've dreamt of Kali. And I've never, looked at Kali as a ma. It's always somebody as somebody that, is with me always. And, to date, people call, me and my mother and ask that, why is Puneet drawn to Kali? So I just asked them, if I were, probably posting my picture with Shiva, would you ask the same thing? Or if I was probably posting my picture with Vishnu somewhere, would you be asking me the same question? But because I'm putting a picture with Kali, there is a question coming in as to why Kali. So I think that is also something that, the society is kind of framing in a way that, no, it's something which is very abstract and which is very different. But, of course, there's a calling that happens, and she calls.
And that too, you will see that if Kali is calling now, after some time of being with Kali, she'll push you to somebody else. Then you will see that you're getting interested in that, and then again after some time you will see that you're pushed to something else. And a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people feel this, they don't realize, because it changes. Like I have heard people being fond of Hanumanji and then being pushed to Kali, and then being pushed to Krishna, and it goes on. And I was like, I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to see the darker side, I wanted to see the lighter side, I wanted to see all the sides, because ultimately all side belongs to them only. I mean, it is one entity whose divisions it is. The all shades of grey in between and the white and black are all his. So it cannot be anything different. You know, if we believe in one and everything has come out from one, that means all of us are the same.
Right.
It's just that our beliefs and patterns are conditioned. We are taught something, and that is why we follow that.
Correct.
So we have to open ourselves to a wider view, and we have to see which stage of our life we are in, what conditions we are going through right now, and in that condition, what is going to help me. And if that parameter takes me to a ancient god, which is a demonic entity, I will go there. If I think I'm feeling weak right now, I will not go to something which is very light. If I feel somebody has attacked me right now through some psychic attack or some evil eye or something like that, that means I am not going to go to somebody who is of a lighter being. I have to go to somebody who is heavy. And then I would go to the raw energy and then ask for my guidance and help there. I will not go, I will not go to another human being, because I've gone to enough and seen that no one could help.
But majority would not be able to do it themselves. So how do
Then
you?
it's not the time.
Mhm.
It's not for everybody. So everybody cannot say that now I'm going to Kali and I'm going to be, all devoted there, because the kind of devotion that is required and the kind of sacrifices that are required for that particular deity is huge. So she's standing with a khadgam. She is not happy with your bananas and rasgullas. I'm for sure about that. So that means she is looking for some kind of sacrifice of your life. What are you ready to give up to be with her? And as you said, you don't see her as a mother, you see her as somebody who's with you all the time. It is there that you can accept her as a sister, as a mother, as a friend, as a lover, as a wife, everything. But it depends. That energy, if you want to see her as a wife also, you can. But then you can't have anyone else in your life. She'll make sure you have no one else in your life. And if you accept her as a lover also, then also you're not going to have anyone else in your life. Then your relationships are all going to be in bits and pieces. So the safest, why people say mother, is the safest way to handle it, because a mother is always going
Very
to be
well
looking
answered. Very well taken.
after the child, always, no matter what.
You're always protected.
So that is what. But I think the other aspect is really good, because that is a different angle altogether. I mean, I grew up, fascinated with Shiva at some point of time, and that was all that was there. And I think a huge part of my growing up was just dreaming about him and sensing him all around. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
And
and I feel the same with Kali.
and till today, I can't look at him as Baba, as most people would call. So I would look at him in a different way altogether,
Right.
and that's more closer.
That's more, yeah.
And that is why probably I've been misunderstood most of my life with everyone around. So which is all right. I mean, I wouldn't give that up for anything.
Correct. That's exactly how I also feel about Kali, and it gives me a kind of strength that I cannot imagine in any other way. When I look at her, and I'm so fascinated, so in awe all the time. I think it's a different feeling altogether.
So all these segments that are there, whether it is tarot, akashic reading, or other kinds of things that are there of divination, how somebody can get a prediction. Most people come here for prediction or go to anyone for prediction. Any situation somebody gets stuck in, the first thing a person does is go to an astrologer.
Correct.
To find out what's wrong. They never even try to see that something is wrong with them or not, because as human beings we do not want to look at ourselves at all when something goes wrong. In most cases, in 99% of the cases, the problem lies there. We don't look at ourselves where we can go wrong. So after going to the astrologer, they take out the prediction. The astrologer's mind is already set that what stones do I have to ask the person to wear. Of course, stones work to some extent only, and stones only work to an extent where where we see that something is really good in the chart. Like, unlike most people, when people say that when something is wrong in the chart or any planet is down in the chart, that is when they give the stone of that particular thing. But my belief is when something is already down, you cannot really get a sick horse to win a race,
Right.
You can barely probably make him walk.
You're
So,
just making him participate, and that's about it.
correct. Then what happens is, then you are actually wearing the wrong stone. So then we check that if something is really good in the chart, if at all, if something is really good, then we try to enhance that by, you can actually wear a stone which can heighten that or amplify that. Otherwise, there's no point. But astrology has a problem. If we tell somebody already that the person will be going through certain problems, or time wise it is not correct, and so the person stops doing his work that particular day, and even if you tell him that your chart is great and there's something very good, which is the good time is coming and all that,
You
and
become
people,
complacent.
they stop working. So I believe, even if you know your chart or whatever, I don't look at it at all. I mean, if there's a problem, try to get yourself stronger. That is what we started our discussion with. What is the practice that you need to do?
Yeah.
So tantra is not really the only answer. Here, tantra is a technique only. Tantra is not a puja. It is not something to do. It is not something to hand over like a pill. It is something that you are supposed to see yourself. It is a technique to work, and there are various other techniques to work. The first thing you need to understand is, what are you trying to seek help for, and then which energy you want to work with.
Correct. And how does one person get to know what is right? Let's see. In astrology, there's a birth chart. You would go through the various phases, say that this is the Mahadasha going on, this is the Antardasha going on, this is what you should do, and then there are set guidelines. What is that one thing in Tantra that one should say that, okay, now this might be something which may be able to help me? What could be that? What is that one thread that the person has to hold on to say that, yes, this is the thread that is going to help me if I follow the path of Tantra?
So that is exactly what I was saying, not just Tantra. So let's not look at Tantra as Tantra at all, because when Indians look at Tantra, there are different sections of people who are looking at Tantra in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was a podcast where I had mentioned that Krishna is the Adi Tantric and Krishna is a Tantric, which a lot of people took offensive. I mean, it was an offense for them. So, when we're talking about Bhagwan as he is, so everything that is happening around in this world should be through him, whether good or bad.
Both.
So, if you're talking about anything evil also, it should be his shadow. Right. I mean, that is how I would like to look at it. If we say that everything is God and God is in everything, that means in a little bit of good in everything bad, or a little bit of bad in everything good should also exist, right?
Correct.
So that means the white and the black should be both his. So you are sitting so calmly right now, and we are talking about nicer things. If something happens right now, I slap you or something, I don't know whether you'll get angry or not, but other than that, if somebody slaps you, when you get angry, are you going to be the same Puneet that time?
Obviously, there's going to be a reaction to that. There's going to be a reaction, and
And how long will you take to cool that anger?
I really can't say. People who know me will say it's going to be probably a split second. I do not know. And then again, things could be different. I do not know in what context. And I think at a certain stage in my life right now that I am at, I think I've grown up to understand exactly why things are happening and how things are happening. That's a different maturity level. But yes, at a regular level, I think the first reaction is going to be a retaliation, and that's going to be an immediate reaction in majority of the cases. And that's how.
So it is that energy that you're carrying at that point of time, which you're going to be holding on for that person only.
Could be, and could also just sprinkle down to some other people also, because I could
at
not.
that point of time only.
Yeah, correct.
So you're angry, for example, you're angry at work. When you go back home that day, you might be angry on everything else because you haven't been able to sort yourself, or
Right.
probably you're carrying
And
an
at work,
anger.
I could not do anything because I have to maintain certain composure over there.
But it is you.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
it is you. So when we talk about good, bad, and evil, when we look at Tantra also as evil or sexual or this, that, and whatnot, a lot of people have something. I think Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is there. You just need to look up the 112 ways of Tantra, very simple ways of Tantra, and just check it out. As I keep saying, in today's world, you don't have an option or an excuse that you don't know.
No.
Just pick up any of the AI tools and ask this simple question: what are the ways? But even those ways people are not going to maintain. That is because they want everything in an instant. Too used to instant coffee and instant Maggie. So probably because of that. So first thing is, you need to grow your energy and make your aura strong. Okay, the aura, a lot of people say a lot of things about aura. It's basically your light and energy. Your light and energy, it can be of various colors. It cannot be just one. It cannot be just that one white light behind the head, which is like a calendar, what we see on the calendar. So that is, and what exactly, how strong your aura can get is basically your belief system, your discipline, and the focus that you have on the path that you have chosen. And that path can actually be your work, it can be your dedication to your home, it can be a dedication to your children, it can be anything. So a housewife can have a strong aura if what she is doing is her belief, and the way she is doing it is her belief, and she can stick to it. So you can grow your aura like that, and you can do different things to enhance that as well. And the rest is all protection. You have to guard yourself against the negatives which is there, how your reaction changes. See, I am a believer of empowerments, and I have gone through all the things that you're talking about, all of us. I mean, whoever is resilient today has had to go through certain things in their life to get to that space and to go through that experience and get there.
Right. So no shortcuts.
No shortcuts at all.
And the only one way for a common man, and I'm not saying that everybody has some kind of a spiritual alignment towards something, but I'm saying a common man because majority of the people would be doing their mundane everyday work, is that if they continue to do what they are doing with focus, and focus, of course, we've spoken earlier as well, is the key. You are disciplined, you are focused, you are resilient towards your cost. I think your energies get aligned to the objective that you are actually going ahead with. You don't necessarily need to get your horoscopes checked. You don't necessarily need to get complacent because some person told you that your horoscope says bright future, and then you all of a sudden sit down and wait for the bright future to happen. You still have to take those steps.
When we are in problem, we should not look at the problem as a problem, and you should look at it as a challenge. I mean, I look at every problem as a challenge. How you need to overcome that. And I think we, as far as God power is concerned, that is very important, because God has different ways and different energies. Could be God in one way, but there could be different energies, like the angry Puneet and the calm Puneet is the same Puneet but has different energies. Similarly, there are various energies or entities, which has that supreme authority or power on a particular subject. Say, for example, when we talk about money, when we talk about problems with money, there are certain deities who are helping with money only. If you have problem with health, there are certain deities who would help you with that. If you have other kinds of issue, any kind of issue, actually, there's somebody assigned to that, who takes care of that problem. So it is not for one problem you go to that that one god, or if you want to, it is a belief pattern.
I was about to say it's your belief.
It is a belief pattern who I think is going to solve my problem.
Correct.
And see, a lot of people go to different gods and goddesses. We, especially in our culture, we have many gods and goddesses, and even outside our culture, there are many ancient gods and goddesses that we have spoken about in the past, and they are all energies. We can choose and pick who we want to choose and pick. Say, for example, a 13-year-old would choose a certain superpower depending on their belief system. So maybe a small girl likes Durga. If you go to West Bengal, Durga Puja is there, and most children are very fond of Durga. By the time they grow up, West Bengal of course has Kali also. Then they start, how their minds shift, how they are transforming as a human being. Then the next deity comes. Again, some transformation happens. Then the next deity comes. When do astrologers come in? When their first time their heart breaks.
Correct.
Okay, it's a fact. I mean, the first time somebody would go through a heartbreak, they would start looking at an astrologer. What happened? Why did this happen? Or
Or they would come to say that Tantra should help me do the Vashikaran.
correct. And okay, I have heard that many times that
We heard that message as well from one of our.
Yes. So Vashikaran, probably it happens, but I'm not very sure
Yeah,
about
and
it.
we
I
know,
want somebody to do it on me and show me that Vashikaran happens, because it doesn't. I don't think it works. I have been told many times that it works, but I can't believe that somebody can actually make me a puppet and do things.
Right.
Make me stand up and sit down according to their beck and call. I can't imagine that, and that is why probably I don't believe that Vashikaran can be done. I'm sure if it could be done, a lot of people we would have changed the world situation.
I think we would have had visuals of people walking in dog chains and whatnot, because
And
obviously
there's so many
everybody would
things
have tried to control everybody through something or the other.
Correct, and people talk weird things.
People talk weird things.
So I really don't know, because power should be used in a very responsible way.
Yes.
Even thinking that I want to do Vashikaran, what kind of a waste of energy is that? I mean, why would I want to do Vashikaran on somebody who's not interested? The fact that I'm thinking about Vashikaran that means the person is not interested.
Correct.
And why would I be interested in somebody who's not interested in me?
And might as well do some introspection and understand why is this person not interested in me, because maybe there's somebody better waiting out for you when you've already done the work on yourself. There is a reason why somebody would not be there with you, and instead of blaming the other.
And also, just think about it, when you do a Vashikaran or any kind of energy work, it has a shelf life of 2-3 months at the most. That means, depending on the power of the person and depending on your requirement, you are going to be spending money on doing something every month just to keep somebody with you. I think that's such a waste of energy and even thought.
I agree, and I think it's a very low energy zone in which a person would be to even think about something like that. That's what I personally feel, because otherwise, why would you want to control somebody? How would you feel if you are being controlled like that? And
you can't stop the world from thinking and doing weird things. So these people who say that they can do Vashikaran, obviously they come from a very low energy
correct
point. Exactly what you said, and they don't have, and the person who's asking for getting it done, their energy is also very low. So the first thing is, that is where empowerments come in. You should empower yourself first, and then you don't need to think about Vashikaran. Things automatically happen and fall in place.
Precisely.
Exactly whatever you want, or whatever is good for you, rather, I would say. Not whatever I want. Whatever I want may not be good for me, but whatever he wants, I'm sure it will be good for me.
मन का हो तो अच्छा, मन का ना हो तो और भी अच्छा. So that's because that's what they say, right? What I want is great, but what happens because of what I want is great, but what happens because of what I didn't want is having God's intervention. It's having God's grace into it. So might as well accept that and move ahead.
And also, I feel that we are brought into this world with a certain plan, and that plan definitely is there, because I will not buy the ingredients of a sandwich and then make biryani at home. So if I am brought here for something, I am sure the plan also is there from before I am brought here.
So calling has to happen when the calling happens. You have to be able to identify, you have to be able to walk the path. There may be difficult times, but then you'll have to be able to understand that what is that one thing that you are really getting pulled towards,
But you'll be guided.
and you will be guided.
You will be guided.
As long as you're open.
Somebody will come into your life, somebody will show you the right path, and then you need to take the call whether you want to go through that or not.
So rightly said, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. So I think you will be called when you are ready for the calling to be taken over, and I think
you have to make the right kind of sacrifices also.
Absolutely. So wait for the teacher. I'm sure the teacher is coming.